Top of the morning to you on this Thursday, August 28th. I'm Joe Lemire once again, bringing you the Morning Buzzcast. We already knew that the two-time defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers would be losing Chief Revenue Officer Shawn Thornton, who announced on LinkedIn last week that he'd be leaving his post. But on Wednesday came the big news that CEO Matt Caldwell would also be moving on from Sunrise, Florida. Caldwell, a 2018 SBJ 40 under 40 honoree, who had served as the Panthers business leader since 2016, is moving to Minnesota and the NBA, where he will become CEO of the Timberwolves under Alex Rodriguez and Mark Lowry. Caldwell is a well-respected operator who has led the Panthers not only to great success on the ice, but also in business, with the franchise winning the Sports Business Award for Team of the Year earlier in 2025. The Panthers last season sold out season tickets for the first time in their history and averaged more than 18,500 fans per game. Our Tom Friend wrote that Caldwell now has a 10-year contract with the Timberwolves, with Lowry wanting to send a message about his confidence in this hire. A-Rod and Lowry first met Caldwell while pursuing the New York Mets in 2020. At the time, Panthers owner Vinny Viola was part of that prospective ownership group and first introduced the men to Caldwell. This time, Turnkey ZRG advised on the executive search that placed Caldwell in Minnesota. One of the key tasks for him in his new role will be decisions on the Target Center as that building ages. He oversaw renovations in Broward County that led to a successful turnaround of that arena. Shawn Thornton, meanwhile, shared his new role yesterday as well. He is joining the Atlanta Hawks and State Farm Arena as Senior Vice President and Chief Partnership Officer, as the former NHL player also makes the move to the NBA. In other Hawks front office news, they promoted Kyle Brunson to Executive Vice President and Chief Ticketing Officer. As IndyCar prepares to conclude its season this weekend at Nashville Superspeedway, the racing circuit is making some news off the track. As our Adam Stern writes, IndyCar is considering the possibility of a street race in our nation's capital, potentially as early as next summer for the country's semi-quincentennial. I swore off the word yesterday, and here it is again. Stern noted that Fox, which is in its first year of broadcasting the racing circuit, acquired a 33% stake of IndyCar owner Penske Entertainment this July, with one stated goal of staging more major race events. NASCAR certainly has been successful with the Chicago Street Race and LA Clash at the Coliseum, for example, and now IndyCar reportedly is exploring a DC race next summer. With the UFC already acknowledging the possibility of an MMA event at the White House in conjunction with the 250th anniversary, it could certainly turn into quite a sporting spectacle. IndyCar has already announced plans to hold a street race in Arlington, Texas next summer, with the track in the shadow of the Cowboys' AT&T Stadium and the Rangers' Globe Life Field. In other IndyCar and Fox news, the racing circuit is basking in major audience gains with its new broadcast partner. TV ratings are up 28% year over year compared to the same point last year on NBC Universal's networks. There have been 16 races on Fox and FS1, averaging 1.38 million viewers, up from the 1.07 million that turned into NBC, USA, or CNBC a year ago. Also announced this week is the development of a standalone IndyCar video game to be produced by iRacing that's due out in the second half of 2026. iRacing is the market leader for motorsport simulations, with a particularly popular NASCAR game. Red Sox owner John Henry is a co-founder of iRacing along with Dave Kemmer, who remains CEO of the Chelmsford, Massachusetts-based company. Kemmer previously ran the Papyrus Design Group, which produced IndyCar racing games in the late 80s and 90s. Sticking with open-wheel racing, McLaren's Formula One team, whose drivers Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris rank 1 and 2 in the standings, are set to cash in with a team naming rights deal. Mastercard will be the titular sponsor of the team, which will be known as the McLaren Mastercard Formula One team. Sources told The Athletic that the price tag was in the range of $100 million annually, that it will run roughly a decade into the mid-2030s, and that it is considered to be the largest such naming deal on the F1 grid. McLaren had been the only team in Formula One not to have a title partner, and it had been without one since the end of 2013. In other media news, YouTube TV announced that it had reached a short-term extension with Fox so that subscribers wouldn't lose access to its channels this weekend, with the highly touted Texas at Ohio State college football game looming on Saturday, not to mention NFL Week 1 the following weekend, and of course MLB playoffs next month. The length of the extension was not described, so some of that programming may still be in jeopardy if a longer deal is not reached. YouTube TV has about 8 million subscribers, so certainly a big deal. The NCAA is debating whether to draft a rule that would require incoming college student athletes to share their existing NIL deals from high school and/or junior college to the NIL Go Clearinghouse. As the AP reported, about 40 of the 50 states currently permit high school students to earn NIL money. The goal is transparency in the system to prevent third-party pay-for-play deals with boosters or other school-affiliated groups. LIV Golf will be making a summer tour stop in New Orleans next year after the state of Louisiana pledged more than $7 million to make it happen, with $5 million earmarked to LIV and roughly $2.2 million in planned improvements to the Bayou Oaks course in City Park. The PGA Tour has long visited the city for its Zurich Classic at TPC Louisiana in April. This LIV Golf tournament would likely be in June. Speaking of 2026, the Pac-12 has reached a deal with the CW as its secondary media partner, following news earlier this summer of CBS joining as the primary broadcast partner. Both agreements will run through the 2030-31 school year, as the Pac-12 relaunches itself with 9 schools next year. The CW will carry 13 football games, 35 men's basketball games, and 15 women's basketball games during the regular season, in addition to the Women's Basketball Conference Tournament semifinals and finals. Pac-12 Enterprises will produce all 66 of those sporting events for the CW. Also, the football podcast Bussin with the Boys, hosted by former NFL players Will Compton and Taylor Lewan, has a new deal with ESPN to appear across its platforms. Austin Karp reports, formerly with Barstool Sports, Bussin with the Boys took an independent route earlier this year after getting a sponsorship from FanDuel said to be worth $30 million over 3 years. The podcast also has backing in a sponsorship deal from Bud Light. Silver Tribe Media assisted with its media strategy. And one final note, legendary basketball coach Don Staley, who's already in the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame, shared on the Post Moves podcast with Aaliyah Boston and Candace Parker that had she been offered the New York Knicks head coaching job she interviewed for, she would have accepted the NBA position, saying, quote, "I would have had to do it, not just for me, for women, to break that door open. I would have had to. It's the New York Knicks. I'm from Philly, but it's the freaking New York Knicks." Hopefully she or someone else will get that opportunity in the near future. Thanks for listening to the Morning Buzzcast. Josh Carpenter will man the helm tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. This is Joe Lemire, signing off.